good to have you back. Today we are having another topic to talk about for the importance of relationships and what matters in relationships. So today our talk is going to be about who's carrying who carries who. Today is going to be a little bit. I hope I'm not going to trigger anybody, and I hope that this is an opportunity to for everybody to share. And we made it very easy for everybody to share today, as we are offering anonymous questions, and this is going to be our standards from now on for all of our talks. It's going to be so this is the QR. You can scan it and send your message or question, and we will have it here, and then we will show it. You don't have to tell us your name. You don't have to share email or anything. But it would be good to know your age range and also your gender. So we would like that. But other than that, you are absolutely yes. So check it out. Submit your questions, and I'm looking forward to addressing it. Actually, we have a few questions that we already gotten from the announcements, and some people already submitted questions. So let's go ahead and start. All right. So as we're going to start today, the topic is broken into three main sections, as usual. And today is going to be, the first topic will be talking about, let's see if this works. Getting excited about this one. Oh yeah, pretty cool. So the psychological or the psychology of emotional capacity. So when it comes down to carrying someone another, so what is the concept is about? It's all about that with all the stressors at work, all the stressors we have in our life, at work, with friends, internally, we get overloaded with so much emotions, and it can be sometimes overwhelming. So the topic today, when we reach that state, or when we are in that state, how can we manage that these intense moments and that situation while keeping a very good and healthy relationship? So that's the challenge, and that's what we're going to be tackling today. I worked with couples, for quite some time, and this is one of the things that we develop through therapy. A lot of people say they communicate, but actually this is where things are not going to be really well properly communicated between couples when the psychology or when the emotional capacity is at risk. So what's the second slide? I thought I finished that. All right. So imagine the capacity we're talking about here is imagining it is like a battery, right? So if you have a battery, it needs to be recharged. It's just that the nature of the capacity of the battery, it has a certain capacity. It cannot be overfilled, and it cannot be running. You cannot use it if it's running really low. So that's the human nature is no different. It's not different from having a charger inside you that would help you to manage your social and emotional. That is, social and emotional energy needs that capacity from within you to be able to function and to be able to have a successful and a satisfying life, and to be also for your partner also to enjoy that connection with you. Now, everybody has a limited or finite amount, this energy. We cannot taking that for granted. We only can use it And we're just going to learn today on how we are going to be managing that. So if we manage this capacity, it will help us to manage very good, healthy relationship, regardless of the charge, if it's full or low. It doesn't really matter. So we learn how to manage that within ourselves, and that's going to help our partner um, to be connected with us and feel safe with us. Not sure why it's repeating like that. Okay, so we have a social need as a creation. We are human, and a human have a nature need for connection, for social connection, and many people think that infidelities or affairs happen because somebody is sexually attracted to another person. Actually, most of the time, based on research and also based on my work with my couples and work with so many cases and looking into this field and talking to my colleagues and my supervisors, etc., it's very common that we know almost for sure that the disconnect that they have within the marriage leads to them having that connection, that social connection outside the marriage. And if that social connection is not solid, then we need to see why is it not solid. One of the reasons is because of the emotional capacity is running low. And when the emotional capacity is running low and we don't know how to manage it and how to communicate about it and how do we be there for our partner when our partner needs us, it's going to drain us even further. And if that goes for months or years, it's not going to be a pretty picture. So we just want to understand this emotional capacity from a psychological point of view. And therefore, when that happens, when the emotional capacity becomes really low, it actually having some issues. It actually has some invisible work, which is in the subconscious. That invisible work is causing us to be drained without us really being aware. And that's very dangerous. When the invisible work is happening in the background and we're not aware of it, so how do we manage that? How can we become aware of it? Because if we're not able to be aware of it, then therefore that energy is running out. There's really no engine to run to be able to manage our emotional stability, so we'd be connected safely with our partner. And that's why it's really important to be mindful of this psychological emotional capacity with reference to our relationship with the loved one. And I'm talking about couples, but this is also true for parent and child. It's no different at all. But when the parent is coming from stress and the child needs, connection, how does the parent can be there for the child, and vice versa? If the child is becoming, was being bullied or at the school, and the father or the mother is really stressed and they're not able to take any burden, and the child sees them and he already knows that they are already stressed, how is the child going to be able to talk about that and feel safe that you will be able to listen to their problems and addressing their needs? Like, imagine that your child is having a very, very difficult day, and you're also, as a parent, or both of you as parents, you also had a very, very difficult day. So when you come home, your child starts to share the pain and the stress at school, and from your side is like, that's stress? That's not stress. That's not. What are you talking about? That's not painful. This is baby stuff. How could you be stressed about that? You want to stress? I'll tell you my stress. And they started talking about how brutal it is at work and all that. Well, the child is not going to feel safe to talk about their stress with you, because you're not understanding their stress. I mean, stress is at their level is very stressful, despite to you as an adult with all these years of experience. Yeah, their stress is not much for you because you've gone through it. But we need to be mindful that their mental capacity, emotional capacity is already running low. And we need to understand, if my emotional capacity is also low, how am I going to be able to be that safe mom or safe dad for my child? So I talk about couples, but I also would like you folks to be mindful that this is no different when we're talking about children. When your child is in distress and you're in distress, yes, it's not easy to be there for your child. This is how we want to learn how we are going to be managing these kind of situations, so we can still pay attention to our children and pay attention to our partners, so they can feel connected and they can feel safe to talk to us. So with this invisible work happening in the background, if we're not aware of it, we can snap at each other. You find the couples be angry at each other. They'll be withdrawing from each other. That's also another bad thing for the relationship. It's not something that is really healthy. It might be safe for you to do that. It might be safe. You think it's safe for your partner, but it's actually not. Many parents or many, when I work with many parents or many even children, they both say, my relationship with my father, not much. He didn't say much. It was all by him locking himself, doing his own thing. We hardly had any time with mom, hardly had any time with dad. They were always busy. They were always, we just didn't know how to approach them. It's very common. Well, all of these things are really red flags, to be honest. They're not healthy for your children. And if you want to have a successful child, you really need to focus on having a successful parent. So your child needs to be a successful parent, not just a successful adult, because you need the child to be a successful wife, you need your child to be a successful husband. Most importantly, you want your child to be a successful parent. So with that said, we'll go to the next point, which is the over-functioning. So what happens when we're not aware of the level of the emotional capacity is running out, then we will be wanting to keep that, maintain that work that we're doing, be managing the stress, being at home, cooking, or fixing, or answering questions, or answering phone calls or emails at work, or even when you come home, you do that. And that stressful life is going to keep you to wanting to do more, and that's going to impact your mentality and your presence as a partner. You will start to develop this dynamic between you and your partner, that one of you will be the carrier, who carries who. One will be the carrier, and the other one will be the carried, or be the passenger. So you are carrying yourself and you're carrying your partner. And because we're not able to determine our emotional capacity, we overdo it. We just kind of like wanting to do more because we're good people. Because I'm a good person. I love my partner. I love my wife. I love my husband, whatever the case might be. I love my children. So therefore, I'm going to demand more of myself. And that's really, that really happens when we're not aware of that. Emotional capacity is really running low, but we keep pushing ourselves. And the more we push ourselves, the more we are going to develop this dynamic between partners. Not only that, with between you as a parent and your children. So they'll be dependent on you, and you'll be taking all of the load. It's just a matter of time. Before you know it, You will snap at them. You will hit them, children, or your partner. I don't know. Sometimes it happens. And you scream at them. You just throw things, flip tables, whatever the case might be, because you're really running like close to zero in your emotional capacity. There is really no charge of emotions to keep for you to have that positive emotions. It's just running really low. No positive emotions whatsoever. It's all stress and just overwhelming. That's going to help to bring this this dynamic to a very dangerous grounds or stage in between the couples or between the parent and the child, and that develops the insecure connection. So the connection is not safe, right? So therefore, it does impact that the dynamic, and this happens usually between couples. This carry dynamic happens because it becomes supported by our subconscious patterns from past experiences or from past patterns that I maybe picked up from my partner or I picked up from my parents, how they did things together. And therefore, okay, so we're going live to TikTok right now. I'm supposed to be doing this together. It's our first time to do this on TikTok. So yeah, we're starting a little bit late for TikTok. So you guys can catch up the first part in YouTube, and hopefully in the next time I'm on TikTok, I will make sure to start this simultaneously. All right. So this pattern that I'm picking up from childhood, from previous observations or experiences that I have had, seen my parents going through, or maybe I saw that as a cool thing. Maybe I thought it was really nice. So that supports my need to be there for everybody and not take care of that emotional capacity gauge. And therefore, I'm only focusing on the other persons in my life, give them more despite my need, despite my emotional capacity is running out, or maybe zero. So even though it's running zero, my subconscious patterns is pushing me to say, yeah, no, you need to do it more. You need to do more of it, and it's okay. It will come back. It will recharge. Don't worry about that. But you need to be, truthful to the patterns that you already in your subconscious. These things happen subconsciously, It's not something that we decide and we're conscious about doing that. It just happens because it's natural. It's natural for us to do that until we reach to the point of no return, I guess. And that's when things start to go lower and lower, and then the load charge gets lower and lower. Basically, it tends to drain yourself, and that would cause the kaboom in the relationship. So the cycle here that I'm talking about, the overfunctioning cycle, is nothing that is done to you. It's just something is happening inside you that you're not aware of, because your conscious is on what you think is the best thing to do, which is to give more, or to give more attention, or to be there for them, in not in an emotional way, because you're emotionally drained. You just be there physically, and the more physically you're doing, you're actually draining also your physical and your emotional, because emotions, like you have one barrel of energy. You take emotions, energy, you take everything, thoughts, everything comes from that. that barrel or that container, which is called brain. And if we exhaust that brain, I mean, emotions and physical things come from the brain, because the brain needs to think and send orders to move and all these things. It's not just something that you would do unconsciously, that you are a robot. You need to put some thoughts in your physical activities and thinking about doing things and doing this and doing that. And all of these are basically going to impact your emotional capacity. So your attention to yourself is no longer there. And the more you do this, supported by your subconscious patterns, the more your battery or the capacity is going to drain. I hope I explained this over-functioning side. It's not something that you are controlling. It's just something that you do. So imagine that you're coming from work. I did say that. And you had a miserable day. And you really wanted to offload that because, as I mentioned earlier, we are a social creature. We want to have someone in our life. We have to have someone in our life. We need to let go of that. Now, imagine if you're doing that and your partner, your wife, is also had a very difficult day at work. And both of you, no children yet. This is an example with no children yet. And both of you had a very, very distressful day, and both of you are, at your lowest in terms of your attention and in terms of your capacity, emotional capacity. Just for those who joined us on TikTok, I'm also on YouTube. I started TikTok a little bit late. My sincere apologies on that. It's the first time to do it on TikTok Live. So I invite you folks to look at the first part on YouTube, and we're going to try to see if we can put the whole thing on TikTok at a later time. But so it's really important to you guys. If you have any questions, we do have a QR. I don't have the QR. That's interesting. We need to have the QR for TikTok also ready. I don't know how to tell you to put your questions in our anonymous website to put your questions. But if you go to relationary.com/events, you will see our today's event. And if you click there, so relationary.com/events, and you go there and you will see this today's event, and and you will be able to send your questions on our website. These are anonymous. Just let me know your age range and and your gender. These are the two things. But anything else, it's really up to you. If you want to put your name, you can put a fake name. It's up to you. But none of that is registered. Just feel free to join us with some questions. We'll take a look at them, and we will share them accordingly. All right, so let's go back to the example that you are coming from work, your partner is coming from work, both of you had a very, very bad day. And you start talking about your day, and you say, you know what, my boss came to my office today and scolded me for something I didn't do. It wasn't even my fault. It was my colleague who did this, and I was scolded, and he just ramped in and ramped out of my office or cube or whatever, and it just really made it very difficult for me for the whole day. And I was just really like, I lost all respect, and it's a shameful day. And I tried to talk to him, and he's like, no, you don't have excuses, you cannot defend yourself, etc. And your partner is looking at you, but she's not listening. She's also stuck in her day. It's like, you know what, you're complaining about that. Today I had a car accident, and it was my boss. As I think you can think of whatever is stressful. Like, my boss hit me from the back, and he's the worst boss I ever had. He's narcissistic, he's this and he's that, and he wouldn't want to fix my car, and he's blaming me for it, and just crazy. And both are talking which one had a worse day, right? And both of them are like in a fight is like, no, mine was, well, that's nothing. You can fix the car. We have insurance, no big deal. Well, but how am I supposed to go to work tomorrow? I mean, just I have no face to go back to work tomorrow. So this is going back and forth. So you and your partner are running out of emotional capacity, and both of you need the attention. So how do you manage that? How do you manage that? And that's really important, because it's one of the things that, as couples and as adults, that we need to have this ability to manage our emotions. We need to be able to manage our needs for attention and needs for the support. So and it's not possible if we're not able, if we don't have that capacity, the emotional capacity. But how do we manage the situation if we do not have the emotional capacity? And that's really what I'm going to be talking about now. Is just going to be that's the third part of today's topic, is going to be how do we do like a strategy for a capacity check. So the capacity check is going to be our guidelines in terms of how do we communicate our ability to our partners, so we are strong connectors and we have the strong connection, and it's still safe regardless of my difficult days and regardless of my partner's difficult day. I need to see if there are any questions here. I'm not seeing any questions on TikTok. Not sure if I'm looking at it correctly. Okay. When it comes down to having that strategy, the capacity of the capacity check, you need to be in communication with your partner even before you leave to work, even in the morning, because you probably started to hit low at very early in the day because you left home, the home was a mess and all that. So that kind of reduced your emotional capacity already. So you left home maybe at 70%. And let's say 7. 1 out of 10 is 7. So 70% you left home, you get to work, got a problem, you got a car accident, or your boss got scolding in you, or you had a fight with your colleague, and your colleague kind of took credit for all the work that you've done or collaboration that you both did, and all of that is happening with a start that you didn't even start with 100%. You started with 70%. By the time you go through that, it drops to 50, 40, 30. Then you come back on traffic, people cut you off, slow traffic, accidents and all that. You're coming home at 5%, barely. You're coming home at a 5% emotional capacity, and your husband or your wife is expecting you to listen to them. And I don't have time for them, so therefore I'm just gonna run, take a shower, and go to sleep. I'm just gonna avoid the whole thing. I'm just gonna prevent all of these possible issues that might happen between me and my partner, so we don't get into a fight. So therefore, I just avoid the situation, and therefore I don't want to hear from them, because last night they told me they had a problem at work, and this morning they mentioned I have a problem at work. I'm just gonna avoid the whole thing. I'm just gonna go to sleep, or I'm just gonna lock myself, or just in a room, or just keep watching my phone. Or some people, even like some husbands and some partners, they tend to go to the bathroom for a very long time. They kind of like want that space, that safety. That doesn't help the relationship. It does help you to feel better, to feel not bombarded by your partner because you're really low in your energy. But how are you going to be able to ask your partner that I really need a breather right now? How can we do that? How can we ask help from the partner to be that person we can lean on, lean on me kind of stuff. And how can we do that if I am not able to even talk? If my partner, I know my partner has already been triggered by work or something, some messages and all that, and therefore I'm thinking I'll just avoid the whole thing. Much better, it's much safer. But actually, it's much safer just for the relationship and for both of you is to say, I really love you so much. I'm just really running at like 5%. I am not in any way or any shape to be a good listener right now. I'm not going to be a good partner to listen. I am just need your help so I can lean on you and I can just rely on you that whatever you want to do for dinner is fine by me. Whatever you want to do with this is okay by me. I'm just really, really low in my, you don't have to say emotional capacity. You can, I'm really, really low in my mood. I cannot have any energy to address any issues or answer any questions, or I just need you to know that. And I really need your support in that. So that's something that you can ask from your partner. Now, the partner, if they also have any, maybe they get triggered. They might say, you know what, why are you asking me this? Well, how am I supposed to do it? I also had a bad day. But that's the beauty of this, saying it, that what I just mentioned earlier is because your partner can say the same thing. Like, you know what, I had a very difficult day. I also cannot do anything. And I was thinking to ask you to lead the house, to do whatever you need to do. But since you're really feeling low, I'm also feeling low. Let's partner up. Let's figure out how to manage this evening to make it a success for both of us. Let's not put expectations. And then you talk about how you want this evening to be while both of you are running really, really low in your mood. You just don't have the attention span or the emotional capacity or the physical abilities, any of that stuff. You're just totally down. And then you start talking about how are you going to work together on the rest of the evening. What are you going to do? What your partner is going to do? And that's the boundary settings both of you need to set. And if you have children, you do the same thing with the children. I love you so much. I really want to listen to you. I just, mommy or daddy had a very difficult day today. I'm really, really drained. Just give me half an hour. Let me think. Let me see how I can rejuvenate. I just need your help to understand this. And that's really important to start to talk to your children like that, because that's when they learn how to manage their intense emotions as well. And if you don't give them that example of how to how to manage your intense emotions, they will copy how you do it. They will make sure that they copy exactly what you do. If you snap, they will snap because they think that's the right thing to do. But if you start to communicate, I love you, I really want to listen to you, I want to listen about your day, I want to be there for you, I'm just not able to. I'm just really running low. Give me, you set a boundary, give me an hour. A shower, let's assess it again after. And during this hour, you do whatever you want to do. Like you're telling your partner that. And I want you to feel free to make decisions on my behalf. I'm okay with anything. And that's how we manage relationships. Relationships are not always 50-50. Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 80-20. And sometimes there's a gap. It could be 20-70. There's a gap in the relationship. That is okay if it's short-lived, But we cannot have the partner to be always be the 80% and I'm the 20% giving. So therefore, I'm demanding from my partner 80%, and my children are demanding from my partner also 80%. So my partner is already, if I have a child, then they're over by 60%. So they're not able to maintain that. And if they do that for months or years, they're going to snap. Then we basically try to, it's like, what happened? How did this happen? How come you want divorce? See, so here is something, this is a side topic. Wives or women, generally speaking, they tend to seek divorce. Men, on the other hand, husbands, they tend to just walk away from the marriage. And that's brutal. And I'm not saying that is a good thing. It's just because it's unbearable. The load, the emotional negativity that they're running on is just so unbearable pain. And it's just, at one point, they just walk away. Whether there's a second person or not, it doesn't matter. They just walk away. And some women or some wives tend to do it, but the percentage, maybe 2% of women do that. But it's not like it's impossible for women to do it. It does happen, but it's more common that men just walk away. And at that point, is really not good for anybody. The family is all broken. But once we are aware of our capacity, if we are aware of the capacity, we don't have to wait until it's 5%. We don't have to wait until it's 1%. We can speak up. You know what? I'm really running at 50% today. So I understand that you're really running low as well. I cannot give 100% support. So my limits are I can do this and this. Because I'm aware, I'm more aware of my emotional capacity. I'm not going to wait until it's 5% because I don't have enough for me at that moment. So therefore, I need to communicate when it's 50%, when it's even 70%. That's the safest. When your emotions are hitting 70, you need to communicate. I'm heading home. I'm really feeling low. Like I'm running 70% today. So you sit together and just plan the evening before you start talking about your evening, because you do need to start doing that. So you can listen to your partner for like 5-10 minutes. Actually, if we're smart about this, we can listen to the partner for all the stuff that they want to listen to, as long as we don't take it our responsibility to fix it, because that's going to load on our emotions. But if we're at 70%, we can still be there for the partner. If we're at 50%, we can still be there for the partner. We are just listening. We're not going to be the solver. That's very common between parents with their children, and also couples, that they always, when they hear the partner is at distress, they want to go out for the rescue. They want to go and rescue them, and they want to be there for the partner, and at their own cost, like I mentioned earlier. But that's not helping anybody. So therefore, we need to learn, even though you are 50% capacity, you can still be listening, not solutioning, listening to your partner's pain, but just being there. It makes a whole lot of difference to your partner. This is very common, generally speaking, when women talk about their pain. Their husbands feel like they have to fix it. You don't have to fix it. You can ask, well, what can I do to help? Instead of assuming she needs you to help, just ask, is there anything I can do to help? What would you like me to do? She's probably going to tell you, just sit there and listen. I just want you to listen. Oops. I need to bring this microphone. She's just going to tell you probably I just want you to listen. Just listen. And you're like, that's it? Yeah, that's it. Listen. When she's talking, you're also triggered to go, oh, they said that? Why would they say that to my wife? No. Just listen. She's capable. She's a wonderful woman. She's a strong woman. Just listen. That's all you need to do. But when we don't keep that role as a listener, that's when we start to tax ourselves with emotions. So if I'm running at 50% in this conversation, I'm loading myself with these emotions. I'm running lower and lower as I'm listening. Before my partner feels that they're supported, I'm snapping. It's like, I cannot handle this anymore. I cannot listen to this nonsense anymore. They cannot talk to you like this. You cannot do this. You don't know how to manage your colleagues. You're supposed to do this and you do that. And you don't let your manager talk to you like that. And you just need to, you're not listening anymore. You're putting more load on your partner now. It's not going anywhere. So therefore, once we understand, so the steps on how we manage all this, first, you need to be mindful of your emotional capacity. Where is it? Where is it at? Number two, you need to allow that connection between you and your partner, between you and your child. And you need to be a listener, just a listener. Your child says, oh, they bullied me today. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go to the principal tomorrow. You know what? I just really don't have time tomorrow because I have a very important presentation. I have very important this and that. And they're not going to be able to be there for the children, and they're going to have that disconnection. So, so with that, the situation is just not going to help anybody. But if you're a listener, you're not a solutioner, you're a listener, it's different. The child maybe just wants to feel like they're being loved by someone that they care about. Oh, that's pretty brutal what they did. And you just validate what they're feeling and just be there listening to them. What can I do to help? What would you like me to do? Just ask that question instead of just jumping to conclusion that they need your help. They just want you to listen. They just want you to listen. You see, sometimes we're told that don't just stand there, do something. Actually, most of the time is stand there, don't do anything. Just stand there. Just be there. That's really goes miles and miles in relationship connection. And that rejuvenates your partner. If your partner starts to talk when they are 30%, which hopefully they never get to that level because they're more conscious about their emotional capacity because they listen to this talk, right? So they will be starting to talk about their emotion, their needs and their stressors when their emotional capacity is at 70%, or their mood is at 70%. And they're not going to allow it to go lower. And you're not going to allow it to go lower because you're only listening. You're not taking any role other than listening. And that happens after setting the boundaries and agreeing on what needs to be done for that evening. So keep your questions coming. Not sure how many questions are coming. I haven't looked at that yet. So let me see. I do have a few questions already been asked from before. There are no questions live coming from YouTube. I'm going to go to the, these are the anonymous questions. So I'm going to start answering this question. This has got 2 votes. I'm not sure. So this is like on the top of my list. How do you know if you are reaching or settling with someone? Okay, so this is not relating to the topic. I really invite you folks to stick to the topic so we can dig deeper to your needs and other people's needs. There are more questions that are coming in. I'm going to accept those and hopefully I can answer them as well. So this one, in terms of reaching and settling, I mean, if you're really have this kind of relationship, it's just a different topic to be honest. My mind needs to be adjusted to that. What's important about knowing if you're reaching or settling? I really don't know what's the story behind this situation. So I invite you to reach out to our WhatsApp, or and you can ask us questions to our WhatsApp, and I'll be more than happy to address it privately there. So I'll mark it as answered for now. I'm going to take another question. Okay, I'm going to answer this question. Every time I try to bring up undone chores or point out how untidy the house is, I would always get labeled as controlling. Okay, so that's a very common dynamic, or being too harsh. I invite you folks on TikTok to also look at the questions on YouTube, but I'm reading them for you. So they're So so the spouse is taking care of the house, and then when it's not tidy, she is basically, or he is asking for things to be done right, and then they're labeled as controlling or being too harsh or being too picky. I've heard that before. How do I change my behavior? And are these statements actually true? I'm not sure what that means. Are these statements are actually true? Let me think about that for a little bit. But in terms of like, how do you change your behavior? It's not really, it's a need, right? Having the chores to be done or having the house to be cleaned, it's a need, right? And that's when things are between couples, these are the things that we guys talk about. Who's doing what? And if you're newlywed, yeah, this can be something that you probably need to sit down and talk about these things. What's important about having a tidy home, and you're not being controlling. You're just being conscious about the importance of having a tidy home, and to understand your partner's perspective. What do they mean about you being controlling? Or sometimes they call the partner your OCD or just too picky. You want everything to be done a certain way, but it's not necessarily is true that you are. But maybe from their perspective, they see that as a bit too much, because both of you are coming from different cultures, different standards of what's clean and what's not. If your partner is coming from like a tidy home and you're not, who is doing the tidiness in their home? So these are the things you talk about. Well, when I grew up, my mom did all. Or when I grew up, I had a maid. I never had to do anything. I don't even know how to clean dishes. All these things need to be talked about, hopefully before the marriage. But if this was not talked about before marriage, you really need to talk about it, because you're talking about it is important to you. It has a meaning. What's so important about that to you? To have a tidy home, what does that mean to you? Because if you're really, coming home from a stressful day and traffic and all that, and you see a very messy home, that's not going to help your emotional capacity to increase. That's going to drop it even another 10 to 15%. So talking about this with your partner is very important. And one thing that is very brutal when it comes down to couples, name calling. You're controlling, you're picky, you're OCD, you're like your mother, you're like your father. All these are brutal to the relationship. It just causes your partner, or causes the dynamic to be very unsafe, and your partner would not feel safe to talk, to connect with you. And then you'd be wondering what happened. Why is he doing that? Why is she acting like that? Just need to be mindful of what you're saying. So these things, it's really need to be settled between you two, and it's really important to talk about it before you start, quote unquote, before it becomes very painful to talk. You see? So if it's going to drain you by 5%, when it drains you by 1%, talk about it. You don't have to wait until it drains you for 10 or 20 or 50%. You need to talk about it when it's triggering. So you can talk about it. It's really important for me to have this. What can we do? I'm not coming for a solution. I'm asking for collaboration. What can we do to make sure this doesn't impact my emotional? We collaborate. And the partner might think, like, I really don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, and I just cannot do it. Well, then let's find a solution. Get a maid, get someone to help. I really don't know. But that's the solutioning part. We don't want to talk about the solution until the last step of that process. We just want to understand the issue, and that would help us to understand the partner, not the situation. We want to understand where the partner is coming from, not the problem. I hope I answered that. Now the next one. Okay, so the question is, how do I keep my emotional and social energy up? I don't want to be considered as a downer, forcing other people. Okay, so this is something that's very common as well, that certain people have different, different people have different, barrel or capacity, emotional capacity. So it's it's really important to see yourself as one of these people who have a very limited emotional capacity. Doesn't mean you're a downer. It's just that you have a limited emotional capacity. Some people think that this is like an introvert, extrovert. It doesn't really matter. You can be an extrovert and you still run out of capacity at one point or another. So I don't like these labels, to be honest. Just be mindful of your emotional capacity. That's all you need to do. And once you are able to manage these emotional capacities, it doesn't really matter if you're an introvert or extrovert. So you don't want to be considered as a downer. What's important about that? So what if you were looked at as a downer? Who is saying that you're a downer? I mean, if the partner is saying you're a downer, you're just a mood buster and all that, you need to talk to your partner. What does it make you feel when your partner is saying that you're a downer, you're a mood buster, you're just ruining the moment and all that? It doesn't feel good to have these labels. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you don't want labels between you and your partner. You do not want your partner to label you, and you must not label your partner. You do not put negative labels. You can have positive labels. You're the love of my life. Yeah, you can do that. You're the best person I've ever met. You're the most beautiful person you've ever seen. Yeah, these are good labels. You're pretty. You're smart. You're really clever. These are the labels are good, but don't use the negative labels. All right. So that's really important to talk about this labeling. So who's coming up with these labeling on your side? So again, it's not about you changing anything. It's just about it's just that sometimes you do need to rely on other people. That's the person you want to lean on to, and asking for that help is really important. And having a partner to understand your emotional capacity, to be able to support you when you need it, also as important as you are being aware of your limits. Aware of your limits, and you are also asking for help. And your partner's job is to be there for you when they can. That's very important also for them to communicate their capacity. All right. So yes, social energy is really important, and it is here's another question. It's I think the husband is asking, how can I take care of my wife's feelings when she's always dissatisfied? I mean, when I see these words, these are triggers, right? Your wife is not always dissatisfied, but that's your perspective. I respect that. When my wife is always dissatisfied with my life, often looks for my mistakes and thinks she is always right. Okay, so this is two-sided debates. I can debate on behalf of the wife, and I can debate on behalf of the husband. So on behalf of the wife, it's just that if I were to take her side, I'm not taking anybody's side. Actually, I'm looking at what's best for the relationship, because the relationship has needs. The wife has needs, so her needs are coming across to the husband that she's dissatisfied about something that in his life that he doesn't. So it could be that he has a hobby, he spends time with friends, and all these things. If they are done excessively, that's not healthy for the relationship. If you're spending so much time outside the home, that's not good for the relationship. So I'm going to take the side of the wife on that one. You really need to manage your expectations of how much time you're spending outside the home, if that's what's happening. That's what you mean by your life. And looks for your mistakes. It could be, I mean, I need something tangible to work with. But if your mistakes are like relating to, I'll be home by 10 and you come home at 2, that's not a mistake, right? That's just a broken promise. If your mistakes are pick us dinner and you didn't pick it up, that's a broken promise. That's not a mistake. If you were I really don't know what mistakes that you're referring to. Maybe like if you were supposed to be doing the dishes and you didn't do it right, or you made a sandwich and you left mess behind, or you you cooked something and you made a mess behind and you didn't clean it well. So if those are the mistakes, then you can understand what went wrong, as opposed to say understand what is causing her dissatisfaction. That's most important when it comes down to working with your partner, with your wife. So it's not about her picking your mistakes. She just wants certain things in a certain way. Now, I'm taking the side of the wife right now, right? So she wants certain things to be done a certain way. And maybe she's not bringing it up in a positive sense. She's pointing it out as a mistake. You didn't clean this, you didn't clean that. So it's kind of like criticizing everything you're doing. And therefore, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to eat at home. I'm just going to spend more time outside. And that's not going to be helpful for either one of you. So your partner is not able to communicate properly. It's not a justification that you punish them. So it's really important that you also communicate that, you know, I really appreciate that you're pointing out these mistakes. And I really would appreciate if you mention it much nicer without calling me names, without criticizing me, and give me the benefit of the doubt. You can talk like that to your wife. So instead of pointing out that she is pointing out your mistakes, you can talk to her as like, I really don't feel good, just be general, when you're pointing out, quote unquote, my mistakes. But how am I supposed to talk about it? It's like, okay, talk this. But regardless of your wife's style, you can still be able to manage that communication positively. Okay, I understand. I'll work with you on that. For now, I just want you to understand. It doesn't make me feel good. It really makes me feel like I'm an awful person. I am not doing anything right. It just shakes me to the core. You can say like that. What's wrong with it? Instead of snapping and withdrawing, you can talk like that. That's much better to talk like that than withdrawing or snapping and walk away and call names, labels your partner, being, you know, picky, all that. That's something you can control, regardless of what your wife is doing. That's something you definitely can control, and it would be beautiful if you were able to do that. Not go learn it. Go to therapy, couple therapy. I mean, it's not something wrong with you. It's just that you need to learn skills and how to communicate. That's all. You know, people when they talk about couple therapy, there's nothing wrong with me. It's my partner's. This is the last talk, I think. It's nothing wrong with me. It's the partner. The problem is not with me. It's with my partner, with my wife, with my husband. Well, the problem is you need to develop a skill. To develop the skill is to communicate about your emotion, your emotional capacity. Because hearing these quote-unquote criticism about your mistakes doesn't add more emotional capacity to you. So it's draining you. So you just need to communicate, being aware of that draining part that is draining your emotional capacity. Being aware of it is going to help you to communicate. It's like, you know what, that's really hurting me. I'm really not, I don't want to listen to this. And I really, really appreciate if you stop talking to me like that, or stop pointing out the negative, and let's talk about what is it that is so important about this to be done in a different way. What is missing? Instead of me saying it's a mistake, I would like to understand from your side, what is a mistake here, or what is the problem here? What can you tell me? So you can guide your wife to tell you. Now, if I were to take this the husband's side. The husband's side, sometimes it's also common that wives, they tell the husbands to lead. They want the husband to lead. And when the husband leads, they criticize their leadership. Oh, you're not doing it right. You're not doing this right. You're going to cook for us tonight, right? And they cook and they clean things a certain way. They don't like how they are cooking. They don't like how they are spicing. They don't like the wives. And they don't like how they're cleaning. Therefore, they're criticizing because they're not doing it how they would do it. Well, I mean, you cannot win, right? So I'm taking the husband's side because I'm putting two perspectives, because I really don't know the reality of this the situation. So I'm assuming both realities. So So that's, if that's the case, then the wife needs to understand that if you allow your husband, or if you want your husband to lead an activity or in the house, you really need to learn how to be a good follower. Because you cannot have a leader if you don't have a follower. But if the leader does not have a follower, he's not a leader. So the leader cannot have a criticizing person. They're not leading anymore. So a critic is not a follower. Critic is a leader. It's just basically fighting to lead. Yeah. So I hope I presented this from both perspectives. I'm not sure the details of the situation, but I'm going to mark this as answered for now. Okay, so this is a question. I think I answered it. So yes, is emotional labor. We talked about that. And how do you bring it? So the question is, because emotional labor is a fact or something like that. Not sure I understand the first part. By definition, is invisible. Oh yeah, okay. So it is invisible. So that's the thing that we talked about earlier, and I think they're basically quoting that. How do you bring it up to the partner? Okay, so how do you bring it up is, first, as I mentioned, you need to be aware of it. You need to be aware, where is your emotional standard right now? Where is your emotional capacity at? And if that's clear to you, you can communicate. And you just say, I'm at really low. I'm at 50% mood. I'm not fully able to be a good listener, to be a good partner tonight. I'm really like, my head is so loaded with so many things right now. I need to sit down, jot things down. I need to offload this to a piece of paper. Or I would like to offload them with you, not on you. See, we don't offload our thoughts, emotions on the partner. We offload to share with the partner, but nothing to expect from the partner to do. So you can talk like that. You can just be aware of your emotional capacity, and then you can communicate your needs. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question. I'm going to mark it as answered. All right. So let's scroll down here to see anything from the bottom. Okay, so this is a question that, how can I comfort my anxious husband, help him calm down and stop overthinking? I've tried giving him many examples, but nothing has worked. Okay, so your question has the answer. So the problem here is that you're looking for a solution. It's really important not to look for a solution. I know it sounds really bad. I know it doesn't sound like fixing the problem, but I'm not here to fix the problem. I'm here to first develop the team to connect. You really need to, we're going over the hour already. So you really, that's why I love questions, because they're bringing real examples, and I get to have a chance to address these questions, and I'm going to be taking care of my TikTok listeners as well. Next week on Wednesdays, I give this talk at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Malaysia time. So for TikTokers, I look forward to give you the ability to be more proactive and interactive in these talks. Okay, so this is an example that you're looking for a solution to comfort your husband. So to remove this overthinking, because in your mind, where you're coming from, overthinking is bad. Well, it's really good for your husband. So how are we going to go off with that? So how we go off with that is by, first, you need to be there for your husband. Acknowledge his anxiety. He didn't get anxiety, but maybe it's not anxiety. He just comes from somewhere, that comes from a value, that it's coming across as anxiety. But we don't understand where it's coming from. So we cannot find a solution if we don't know where it's coming from, because it could be coming from a very good place. I really don't know. So with that, being said, I hope that you take this opportunity to understand from your husband. If there's an example you can share, I'll be more than happy to address it, but I'll just make up an example. So if your husband is thinking about, like if you guys are going to, I don't know, to a wedding, right? And your husband is thinking about, or maybe you guys going on a trip, and your husband is thinking about every single possible thing that could go wrong. Is that good that he's doing that? Because you're not doing it. Is he doing, is that something, is from his perspective, is he adding value? Yes, he is. You don't like it, you think it's too much, that's different. But he is trying to add value to your safety. And if you have children, to your children's safety as well. So look at that positivity as opposed to looking at the anxiety, overthinking part. So I really appreciate your thinking about all that. That's beautiful to say that. As opposed to, oh, don't worry. Why you worry so much? You're such a worrier, like your mom. Don't go there. Don't go there. Just oh, really? You never thought about it. Thank you so much for thinking it. What do you think we should do? Partner with your partner, not a partner. You guys are separate, telling each other what to do. You need to partner with your partner. So you need to build that team. So how do we address that? Oh, I don't know. Just okay. Let's address it. So put it aside. I really appreciate you sharing that. What can I do to help? Very important. What can I do to help? What can I do to help? And at one point, your husband needs to start developing that capacity, emotional capacity, awareness. So he also understands that this anxiety is causing me to really be drained. I need to start communicating when it's too much for me. But if he's able to communicate his concerns and what he can do and what can be done calmly, and is able to function, not overfunction, just to function, then I invite you to be the partner to listen and to partner with him through that journey of discovering things. As I don't have examples or specific examples, I really have to give you like a general answer because it's a general question. I'm going to mark this as answered as well. This one I think we answered earlier. Please look at the video. I'm not sure what is this in reference to, but it's talking about how do I connect with a partner, I guess, with a partner that has experienced traumatic relationships beforehand. I'm not sure what type of relationship trauma he or she had. If it's relating to childhood trauma, relationship with their parents, or a marriage that didn't work out, or a relationship that didn't work out, or there was some abusive relationship or previous marriage or something like that. You cannot help her to, or help your partner to get over that. How do you connect, or how you talk to her, or how you talk to him? It's going to be a challenge, and it does need a good amount of your capacity, emotional capacity, because they're coming from pain that you had nothing to do with. And therefore, it's really important for both of you. When it comes down to trauma, you really need to reach out to help. You need an external party to help both of you to manage it. Because you're inside the relationship. This would happen. If I were in this relationship, I would do the same thing. It's not because there's something wrong with you. Just because you're in the relationship. You cannot help someone from a trauma point of view unless they seek help from a therapist. And in these kind of situations, I always invite the couple to reach out to a couple therapists, because if your partner to go to a therapist alone, they will get better, and that might it will increase. It's very high chance of increasing the relationship will be distant, and it can cause separation, because they're getting better, they're getting stronger, and they're able to do it alone. and you're not there with them and growing with them, and that's what couple therapy is supposed to do. If you're doing it with the right people, with the right couple therapist, they will help you both to grow with the trauma regardless, and she will be able, or he will be able, to heal, and both of you can work together with that. But I don't think you would be able to help the person. But in terms of the connection, as I mentioned, you do need to have a good amount of, level of emotional capacity to be there for them emotionally, because they are emotionally hurt. And if they're emotionally hurt, you need to bring this positive emotion into their emotional pain, and that would help them to, and that would help them to feel that connection. But if you're there to tell them, if you were there to tell them what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do, it's not gonna help the connection between them at all. So I invite you to be a listener, not a solutioner, not a fixer. You be a listener, and that's more important than being a person to help them to feel better, because that's not your job. It's not your job to help them feel better. It's your job to be there and listen, and be there to connect with them. And just as I mentioned, on how to connect with them is just listen and acknowledge that that was brutal. That was awful. It happened. And I feel I really feel you, and I feel the pain. I can imagine if I were to be in your shoes, I would be just as miserable or as painful. That's how you can say that, I can feel the pain, because you can imagine yourself being in that person's situation, and then you will be able to, you will be able to, whatchamacallit, you will be able to connect with them by you listening. It's because it's very important. When you connect, you don't have to be responsible for their pain. That's really important, because as I mentioned before, if you do that, you are really burdening yourself. You're burdening yourself to take all that burden. It's going to drain you. You're not going to be able to be there for them again or for too long in that conversation. It will drain very quickly. So therefore, you need to listen and acknowledge that they have gone through a pain, and you are there, and you understand, and you are happy that they're sharing that pain with you. And is there anything I can do to help? What can I do to help? That's a very important question that you can ask your partner in these kind of circumstances. I'm going to stop here. There are a few questions that I haven't answered. I sincere apologies on that. I'll keep them. Hopefully, I can address them later with the next topic next week. It's been a pleasant opportunity for me to share some of this information, and I really look forward to share more information the next week. If you guys have any suggestions of topics or something like that, we can add into our plans and what topics we want to talk about. If you are qualified practitioner or a good have a good experience in couples and relationship, let us know. We would love to host you in our talk. And if you have someone to promote or someone to share with us, you would like us to have them as a guest, we'd be more than happy to host them and have a further discussion on how do we increase the knowledge on how to manage healthy relationships between couples, as well as parents and children. I really wish you all the best and safe relationships with all of you. TikTokers, I'll promise that I'll take care of you next time around. Oh, I have 2 messages from TikTok. See if I can read that. I don't know how to read that. I need someone to train me on how to do that. They did not train me, and my sincere apologies on that. So let me see. How do I go to the message? I don't know how to do that. Okay, I'm going to answer them offline. I'll figure it out afterwards, and I'll address it afterwards. But for now, it was a pleasure, and I invite you folks to look at our website, relationary.com/events, and look at the next topic. We're going to be posting it soon. And submit your questions in advance. More than happy to talk about it here. All right. Until then, I wish you all safety and happy relationships, and